The divorce papers sit on my mother's kitchen table, bold and smug in their finality. Full custody to him. Alimony payments that will bleed me dry. Child support for the next decade. Even my house, the house I've been paying for, goes to Kevin and the girls, all because I couldn't keep my legs closed. No, that's not fair. All because I got caught. I'm sleeping in my childhood bedroom again at 38, listening to my mother lecture me about destroying my life while my daughters are 20 miles away, probably making breakfast with their father. The father I told everyone was worthless. The father I cheated on. The father who gave up everything for me. God, when did I become such a cliché? It started 5 years ago when Dad died, a heart attack at his desk, working on purchase orders for the family printing business. Mom found him there the next morning, still clutching his coffee mug. The business he'd built from nothing, the one I'd worked at since I was 16, suddenly needed someone to run it or be sold for parts. I can do it, I told Mom at the funeral. Dad taught me everything. Kevin supported me completely. Of course he did. That's who Kevin was, supportive, loving, selfless to a fault. He was making 3 times what I was at his corporate job, a regional manager position he'd earned at 28. Our daughters, Sophia and Emma, were 5 and 3 then. We'd been juggling daycare and schedules and sick days like every other working couple. But what about the girls? He asked when I told him I'd need to be at the company constantly to keep it afloat. We'll figure it out, I said. We always do. Except we both knew there was only one solution. The company needed me there 60 hours a week minimum. Someone had to be home for the girls. And since I'd be making more money running the business than he made at his job, I'll quit, he said simply. I'll stay home with them. I should have said no. Should have sold the business, taken whatever we could get. Should have seen the writing on the wall. But I was grieving and desperate to keep my father's legacy alive, and Kevin seemed so sure it would work. For a while it did. I threw myself into the business, and within 6 months I'd not only saved it but expanded it. Landed 3 major contracts Dad had been chasing for years, hired new staff, modernized our equipment. My salary tripled, then quadrupled. Mom made me an equal partner, and suddenly I was bringing home more money than Kevin and I had ever dreamed of. Meanwhile, Kevin transformed into Super Dad. The house was always clean, dinner was always ready, the girls were thriving. Sophia reading above grade level, Emma potty trained earlier than any of her daycare friends had been. He joined the PTA, volunteered at their schools, knew every other mom in our neighborhood. That's when the resentment started. Not all at once, but slowly, like water wearing away stone. I'd come home after 12-hour days to find him in an apron, telling me about playground drama and grocery store sales. He'd gained weight, not much, but enough that his corporate swagger had been replaced by a dad-bod softness. His work friends stopped calling. His LinkedIn gathered dust. He was just Kevin, the stay-at-home dad. "How was your day?" he'd ask, massaging my shoulders while I ate whatever gourmet meal he'd prepared. "Exhausting," I'd say. "We're bidding on the city contract. If we get it, we'll need to hire 20 more people." "That's amazing, honey. Oh, Emma drew you a picture today. Want to see?" And I'd look at this man who used to strategize million-dollar deals, getting excited about finger paintings, and something inside me would curdle. The sex was the first thing to go. I was tired, stressed, and never in the mood. He'd try to initiate, and I'd see his soft stomach and his eager puppy dog eyes, and feel nothing but a wave of irritation. When was the last time he'd worn a suit? When was the last time he'd talked about anything besides the kids? "Maybe if you got a job again," I said one night after rejecting him for the 100th time. "Part-time, something to get you out of the house." His face fell. "I thought we agreed this was best for the girls." "It's been 3 years, Kevin." "They're in school now." "For 6 hours a day. Someone still needs to be here when they get home, take them to activities, help with homework. Other people manage. Other people aren't us. This is working. The girls are happy. We're financially secure." Why would we change that? Because I'm not attracted to you anymore, I wanted to scream. Because when I see you in that stupid apron, I want to run. Because Tyler at work looks at me like I'm a goddess, not a paycheck. Tyler, 29, fresh out of his MBA program, hungry to prove himself. I'd hired him to run our digital marketing division, and he was brilliant. Sharp, ambitious, always impeccably dressed. Everything Kevin used to be. It started with late nights at the office, strategy sessions that ran past midnight. His hand on my lower back as he guided me to the conference room. The way he'd lean over my shoulder to look at spreadsheets, his cologne making me dizzy. "You're incredible," he said one night after we'd landed a massive contract. "The way you run this place, it's sexy as hell." When was the last time Kevin had called me sexy? When was the last time anyone had looked at me with such naked want? The first kiss happened in my office. We'd been reviewing quarterly projections, and I'd mentioned needing to get home to help with the girls' science fair projects. "Science fair?" Tyler laughed. "Doesn't your house husband handle that stuff?" "He's not a house husband," I said automatically, then wondered why I was defending Kevin. "Right, stay-at-home dad, same thing." Tyler moved closer, his voice dropping. "Must be emasculating having his wife pay for everything while he plays Martha Stewart." "That's not—" But I stopped, because wasn't that exactly what I'd been thinking? "You need a real man," Tyler said, his hand finding my waist. "Someone who matches your energy. Your ambition." The kiss was electric. Wrong, but electric. When we finally broke apart, I was breathless, my lipstick smeared. "This can't happen again," I said. But it did happen again the next night, and the night after that. The first time we had sex was in a hotel during a business trip that was really just an excuse to be alone. The guilt lasted about 5 minutes before being washed away by the intoxication of feeling desired again. It was a Thursday afternoon when I told Kevin I needed to visit our Jacksonville vendor. A lie that came so easily it scared me. Tyler had already booked the Ritz-Carlton, said I deserved luxury, like that made adultery elegant. "How long will you be gone?" Kevin asked, Emma on his hip while he stirred something on the stove. "Just overnight, back tomorrow evening. Sophia has her recital tomorrow at 6. The one she's been practicing for all month?" I'd forgotten. Of course I had. "I'll try to make it back." His face fell slightly. "She'll be heartbroken if you miss it." "I said I'll try." My voice came out sharper than intended. "This is important, Kevin. Some of us have real responsibilities." He flinched but said nothing, just turned back to dinner while Emma babbled about her day. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt irritated that he was trying to make me feel guilty. The hotel was everything Kevin and I could never afford when we were both working. Champagne waiting in the room, rose petals that Tyler had arranged. He was already there when I arrived, lounging in a chair like he owned the place. "There's my CEO," he said, pulling me onto his lap. "Leave the husband at home with his dish soap?" I laughed, hating myself a little, but not enough to stop. "He's making some kind of organic something for the girls. Probably wearing that ridiculous apron they got him for Father's Day. The one that says Dad's Kitchen?" Tyler had seen it when he'd picked me up for a client dinner once. "Christ, how do you stand it?" "I don't," I said, and meant it. That night, I turned off my phone. Missed 16 calls from Kevin. Missed the video Sophia's teacher sent of her recital. Missed my daughter looking for me in the audience, her face falling when she realized I wasn't there. When I got home the next evening, Sophia wouldn't talk to me. "Daddy said you had important work," she said quietly, not meeting my eyes. "I did, sweetheart." "I'm sorry I missed your recital." "It's okay," she lied. "Daddy recorded it." Kevin didn't say anything about my absence, just served dinner and helped the girls with homework while I checked emails. Later, I found him watching the recital video on his phone, tears in his eyes. "She was amazing," he said softly. "She looked for you after every song." "Don't try to guilt trip me," I snapped. Someone has to keep this family afloat. I've never asked you to choose between work and family. Because you don't have to choose. You get to be here for everything while I'm breaking my back to pay for this life. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a moment I thought he knew. But he just nodded and went back to the video, rewinding to watch our daughter's performance again. Tyler made me feel powerful. When we were together, I wasn't someone's mother or someone's meal ticket. I was a successful businesswoman having a torrid affair with a younger man who worshipped the ground I walked on. "Your husband's a lucky man," Tyler would say after, his hand tracing patterns on my skin. "Please, Kevin's not a man, he's a glorified babysitter who happens to share my bed." Tyler would laugh and I'd feel vindicated. See? Someone else saw it too. Kevin had become pathetic, and I was justified in seeking satisfaction elsewhere. The lies came easily. Working late, business trips, weekend conferences. Kevin never questioned any of it. Too trusting, too grateful for the life I provided, too busy making sure the girls had matching socks and organic lunches. I started picking fights just to feel something, criticized his cooking, mocked his weight gain, suggested he wasn't a real man anymore. "What do you even do all day?" I'd sneer, watching him fold laundry. "Must be nice to sit around while I work." He'd look at me with such hurt, such confusion. "I'm raising our daughters, Natalie." "I'm taking care of our home. I thought we were a team." "Some team. I make all the money, and you—" "What, play house?" The night I really crossed the line was after Emma's parent-teacher conference. Kevin had gone alone because I had a meeting that was actually drinks with Tyler at a hotel bar. When I got home, Kevin was excited to share the teacher's feedback. "Mrs. Patterson says Emma's reading at a second grade level. She's only in kindergarten, Nat. She said our home environment must be really nurturing for her to be so advanced." "Of course it is," I said, pouring wine. "She has a full-time daddy at her beck and call." Kevin's smile faded. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just must be nice to get gold stars for doing what any babysitter could do." "Babysitter?" He set down the report card he'd been showing me. "Is that what you think I am?" "What else would you call it? You don't contribute financially. You don't have a career. You're a glorified nanny who happens to share my bed." "I gave up my career for this family." "For you." "No one asked you to become this." I gestured at him with disgust. "This house husband playing pretend while I carry us." That night, Kevin slept in the guest room. The girls noticed at breakfast. "Why didn't Daddy sleep in your room?" Sophia asked. "Daddy snores," I lied, not looking at Kevin as he made their pancakes, from scratch because of course he did. The affair escalated after that fight. I'd text Tyler while sitting at the dinner table, smiling at messages mocking the meal Kevin had prepared. Started staying out later, caring less about my excuses. Some nights I'd come home to find Kevin asleep on the couch, waiting up for me with a plate of dinner wrapped in the kitchen. "You didn't have to wait up," I'd say. "I wanted to make sure you ate," he'd reply. "You work so hard." His kindness made me crueler. Every patient smile was a mirror I couldn't stand to face. The worse I treated him, the harder he tried. More elaborate dinners, more foot rubs, more patience with my increasingly cruel moods. It made me despise him more. Where was his backbone? Why didn't he fight back? Tyler and I got careless, started sexting during the day, sending explicit videos, making plans in writing instead of being smart about it. Tyler would mock Kevin in our messages, call him a beta male playing housewife, and I'd agree, adding my own insults. It felt good to have someone validate my contempt. The day everything fell apart was Sophia's Saturday soccer game. I'd been glued to my phone, exchanging dirty messages with Tyler about what we'd do at our next hotel meetup, both of us mocking the other soccer moms Kevin was chatting with. 3 hours of 5-year-olds butchering nursery rhymes, I'd typed, complaining about having to sit through Emma's kindergarten play the night before. Kevin cried actual tears. Pathetic. Your husband's a joke, Tyler replied. When you're ready for a real man full-time, let me know. That's when Kevin asked to borrow my phone to video Sophia for his parents. I handed it over without thinking. Why would I worry? Pathetic Kevin would never suspect anything. But he saw. Of course he saw. Tyler's timing was impeccable, sending another message right as Kevin was recording our daughter. A message that revealed everything. The affair, the mockery, the contempt I felt for the man who'd given up his career for our family. The ride home was silent. That night he tried to talk to me and I brushed him off. When he wouldn't have sex with me, the first time I'd initiated in months, I exploded. Called him names, told him to sleep on the couch, still had no idea he knew. He played it perfectly. Consulted a lawyer before I even knew he was considering divorce. Gathered evidence, documented my absences, my affair, my verbal abuse, built an airtight case while I thought I was getting away with everything. When I got served at work, in front of everyone, I thought it was a mistake, some kind of cruel joke. Kevin would never leave me. Kevin needed me. I paid for everything. The process server walked right into our Monday morning meeting. Natalie Foster? Yes? I said, confused. You've been served. He handed me the envelope and walked out. 20 employees watched as I opened it. My hands shook as I read the words. Petition for dissolution of marriage, custody, alimony, asset division. Everything okay? Tyler asked from across the conference table, his voice carefully neutral. He'd been distant since word got out about the divorce filing. I need to... I stood up too fast, knocking over my coffee. The brown liquid spread across the quarterly reports, ruining everything it touched. How fitting. I locked myself in my office and called Kevin 17 times. Straight to voicemail. Called the house, no answer. Finally tried his mother in Columbus. He's here with the girls, she said coldly. And before you ask, no, you can't speak to them. They're my daughters. You can't. Actually, Natalie, we can. Kevin has an emergency custody order. Given your adultery and absence from their lives, the judge agreed they need stability. His lawyer planned this, I hissed. That manipulative... The only manipulative person here is you. Kevin gave up everything for your family, and you threw him away like garbage. Well, guess what? The garbage man came, and now you're going to pay. She hung up. My mother-in-law, who'd baked cookies with me, who'd called me the daughter she never had, who'd cried at our wedding, she'd chosen sides. Of course she had. The humiliation at work was immediate. Within hours, everyone knew. The woman who'd inherited Daddy's business and couldn't keep her legs closed. The boss who'd been banging the marketing director while her husband raised her kids. Tyler resigned that afternoon. Didn't even have the courage to tell me in person. Just an email citing new opportunities. I found out later he'd been interviewing for months, using our relationship as leverage. I managed strategic initiatives for the CEO, he'd told prospective employers. Let them draw their own conclusions about what kind of initiatives. Except that was exactly why I was screwed. The lawyer explained it to me in brutal detail. I was the primary breadwinner who'd convinced my spouse to give up his career. I'd committed adultery. I'd been absent from my children's lives. I'd created a hostile home environment. In the eyes of the court, I was the stereotypical deadbeat husband, and Kevin was the long-suffering wife who'd sacrificed everything for her family. The judge will crucify you, my lawyer said bluntly. Take whatever settlement he offers. The settlement was brutal. Kevin got primary custody. I see the girls every other weekend. He got the house, with me paying the mortgage until the girls turn 18. Alimony that takes 40% of my income. Child support on top of that. Even money for him to go back to school, since his career had been derailed by our arrangement. This is insane, I screamed at my lawyer. I'm their mother. Mothers don't lose custody. Mothers who abandon their families for affairs do, she replied coldly. You're lucky he's not pressing for supervised visitation only. Tyler dumped me the day after the divorce news spread through the company. Turns out he wasn't interested in a middle-aged woman with baggage and financial obligations. He'd been using me for advancement, and now I was toxic to his career. The business is suffering. I can't focus. I'm living with my mother, who alternates between sympathy and disgust. My daughters cry when weekend visits end, begging to stay with Daddy. They barely know me anymore. I'm the woman who shows up twice a month with guilt presents, trying to cram motherhood into 48-hour segments. Last weekend was particularly brutal. I'd promised to take the girls to the zoo, something special, just the three of us. But Tyler had texted the night before. He was in town for a conference, staying at the same Ritz where we'd had our first night together. "For old time's sake," he'd written. I told myself I'd just meet him for a drink. Closure, I called it. But I knew I was lying. I dropped the girls at Kevin's 2 hours early. "I thought we were going to the zoo," Sophia said, her face crumpling. "Something came up at work, sweetheart." "We'll go next time." "You always say next time," Emma whispered. Kevin didn't say anything, just gathered the girls' overnight bags with that same patient expression he'd worn throughout our marriage. But I saw Sophia whisper something to him, saw his jaw tighten as he nodded. Tyler wasn't even apologetic when I showed up. "Knew you'd come," he said, already 3 drinks in. "You always were predictable." The sex was mechanical, desperate. Afterward, he mentioned his new girlfriend, another executive, someone more age-appropriate and less complicated. I was a booty call, a pathetic 40-something woman clinging to a man who'd used her and discarded her. When I picked up the girls Sunday evening, they were subdued. Kevin had taken them to the zoo himself, Sophia informed me. They'd seen the new baby elephants and had ice cream, and Daddy had let them ride the carousel twice. "We had the best day," Emma said. "Daddy said maybe you can come next time if you're not too busy." The casual cruelty of it, Kevin being the bigger person while highlighting my failures, cut deep. But what destroyed me was finding the card in Sophia's backpack. A Father's Day card she'd made at school, 2 months late because Father's Day had passed while she was in camp. "To the best Daddy," it read in her careful handwriting. "Thank you for always being there, for making the best pancakes, for helping with homework, for never missing my games, for the hugs when I'm sad. You're my hero. Love, Sophia." At the bottom, in smaller letters, "P.S. I wish Mommy could see how amazing you are too." I sobbed in my car for an hour. Kevin's thriving. He enrolled in an executive MBA program with the education money from the settlement. Got back in shape. I stalked his LinkedIn last week and saw he's already getting job offers for when he graduates. The girls are still excelling in school. He's dating someone, a pediatrician who apparently adores the girls and respects what a devoted father he is. "You had everything," my mother said last night over wine. "A husband who loved you. Beautiful daughters. A successful business. Why did you throw it all away?" I wanted to explain about the resentment, the loss of attraction, the way Kevin's devotion to our family had somehow made him less of a man in my eyes. But saying it out loud would mean admitting what I've been avoiding, that the problem was never Kevin. The problem was me. I bought into some toxic idea that a man who nurtures, who sacrifices his career for his family, who finds joy in raising children, is somehow less masculine. I convinced myself I deserved better while I had a partner who was giving me everything. I justified my affair by painting Kevin as pathetic when he was actually heroic. Now I'm the pathetic one. Alone in my childhood bedroom, writing alimony checks to the man I cheated on, begging for extra time with daughters who prefer their father, running a business that's slowly failing because I can't separate my professional life from the personal disaster I created. Kevin gave up his career for our family. I gave up my family for my ego. Guess which one of us made the right choice? And every check I write to him is a receipt for the life I burned.